Credit cards aren't hard. They're misunderstood. If you don't know anything about credit cards other than they're basically about bad debt and just bad habits and reckless spending and all these things, that's where a lot of people are misunderstood. And maybe that's obvious. But I will say that in my personal experience, how I've gained is what I'll share in this video, which has earned me hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm confident will make me millions over my lifetime. And with that, let's get straight into it. So the first one is going to be credit score. Credit score, we all know high level what it is. It's basically your credit worthiness. And what is a credit card? Credit card, sure, it's a piece of plastic. Nowadays we have it on, touch pay through our phones. But all it is basically, hey, if you didn't have cash back in the day when you're just on the road and you didn't have maybe a foreign currency in general to spend with, or you just didn't have enough cash, merchants would provide credit, with the full faith that you will pay back basically. And over time, it became now to a point where credit/digital payments are really the only way. Like cash is becoming less used day over day over day. And when it comes to credit cards, you're basically spending. So the user, aka yourself and myself, may get a certain level of maybe cash back or points or miles or rewards, maybe not as well. But that's an incentive for us to spend with credit cards. And then merchants can accept payments which are not cash, but now they're able to transact with folks that want to spend money with them. And so they get charged a fee, but they're willing to pay the fee because they're actually able to get more dollars or currency than they were without having this system in place. And all your brokers in the middle, like Visa, MasterCard, etc., they basically take their own cut. So that's like the very high level of there's an incentive basically for everyone to transact with each other because along the way, everyone's getting something more than they would have versus just using, let's say, pure cash. So with the more obvious out of the way, I would say in my situation, how credit score has impacted me is essentially that I got my first credit card at the age of 18. And maybe I was I'll say I was very lucky because it's a common theme that habits around spending and financial literacy are not taught from a young age. And that's systematic, whatever the word is. And it could get a little political. So I'm going to not get into that part. But I was very lucky where it was like, all right, got my first card. That's kind of ruminating in terms of credit history from an overall age of accounts perspective and other things that go into credit score and utilization. Like, am I using all of my limit? Am I maxing it out? So that kind of speaks like, hey, if we give this person credit, are they going to use it? Are they not going to pay it back? What happens if, right? So all of those things basically, it was just kind of basically marinating of sorts. And so my credit score was going up and up and up just organically over time. And when I needed to use it, which was to purchase a bigger purchase, and I've used it along the way, obviously, for applying for other cards. But when I basically locked in my home mortgage loan, back in the day, too, if you wanted to buy a house in full cash, it was a lot easier than today. And nowadays, how credit cards are used to basically replace cash transactions, you have basically the need almost now to finance, whether that's auto loans, mortgage, or home loans. And that's its own topic. So I basically had such a high stellar credit score to get the best interest rate ever, which in one way it's not a flex because why pay interest when you don't have to? But taking more of the average scenario, for me, it was very lucrative. And then obviously when everything in 2020, the pandemic happened, when rates were dang low and credit score for me was very, very high. Basically, when I refinanced, I got the optimal rate. And at the time, just all else equal, not the bottom of the bottom because that's just timing. But for me, it was a 2.75% mortgage rate on a 30-year fixed loan. And so that saves me from refinancing from my previous option, $500 to $600, like concrete savings for the next 360 payments that I would make, basically because I had the opportunity to refinance and I was already prepared because my credit score was ready for it to be hit for me to apply for XYZ loan. And of course, income had supported at the time. And a lot of things need to align, not just your credit score, but you can see that, okay, this is 360 times 500 is whatever that math is of savings. But the bigger thing is I can use that savings now to invest into the market, into my second property, into whatever, right? So the optionality to make more money is now possible. And whether that's the second or the third, if you just look at leverage and math of how assets work, whether it's stock market or real estate, basically in the longer term, you'll see that there's an absolute gain, not just from a percentage standpoint, but from an overall dollar perspective. So that's more of the credit score perspective. Simultaneously, when it comes to actual credit cards, for me in the beginning, I didn't know anything about points, miles, and you can use these things that you earn by spending on your credit cards to then travel the world for free or pay for other people's travel and all of this. And so for me, I was involved and still am in a hobby, passion, and lifestyle, you could say, of performing beatbox, which is making music with your mouth. And it's an international phenomenon, as you could say, just how music is shared globally. And for me, not just for me to travel to events to learn, hey, how do they run events? So then how can we bring back the best of the best in terms of findings and learnings to America to make the largest international beatbox event? More than that, it was about giving the opportunity to other folks to come to America. And that basically for free through points and miles because I'm able to redeem whatever I was earning through credit cards and new intro sign up bonus offers and all these things for other people to come over. So from a business perspective, it was beneficial. From my personal perspective, I was able to see, learn, and so much more. And then from a life core memory experience for other people, they were able to come to America for themselves from a, their benefit, but also from a mutual benefit where we're just able to share the love of beatbox and music and all these things because of what was being able to be redeemed through everything credit card. So it's not like it's 100% negative and all these things. And of course, there's some obvious things. If you overspend or they're designed in such a way where interest rate is so high compared to traditional, investments, if you're long-term investing in a market, maybe it goes 7 to 10% year over year, just an example. But with credit cards, maybe interest rates are like 20% to 30% and even more, just depending on the situation. So they're misunderstood because at a headline level, for most people, they just end up not helping the average consumer because they're not really, unfortunately, there to really help or not if you're overextended. And there's a different way to put it where it's like, hey, if you're just overspending and not earning that much, you're going to go into debt. So it's basically, unfortunately, like this in general from a base case perspective. But on the flip side, there's a lot of money to be made, not just by like getting cards and further bonuses, but from a holistic perspective. If you combined just how credit works, leverage, and mathematics, and of course, your income needs to support over time, but credit can allow many things to happen. And you can also get, let's say, a property rented out to someone, right? And so they're basically essentially paying for your mortgage. And of course, things need to work out in general well, and you should be able to afford that mortgage if you had no tenants, or at least save up for X amount of months in case there are vacancy periods. But all in all, credit allows leverage, and leverage allows someone to basically make more with less money in. So cash on cash return would be more. In other words, if you have a $500,000 property, you put, let's say, 50K down, that 500K property goes to 750. So it went up 250K. You put down 50K, right? And yeah, you're making payments month over month over month. But generally speaking, at a high level, 50K down, 250K up, you just 500x'd your investment. You 5 times your money because of leverage. And I'm not preaching like credit is the best thing in the world. But you can kind of see that, okay, if you use it smart, if you use it, strategically, if you use it in such a way that isn't just blatantly stupid and over leveraging yourself, then there is the other side where there's so much more benefit. If you came this far, there's a link in the description below for a one-on-one chat, totally free. And it's however I can add value to your life and vice versa. So with that, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.